much other stuff to do than this stupidity, but update NASA's SpaceX. Let's see if we can say it with a straight face. Update NASA SpaceX Crew 9. Splashdown countdown. What is the splashdown countdown anyway? Oh, this is old from March 8th. What are they trying to say now? Update coverage of the deorbit burn and splashdown of the NASA's SpaceX Dragon Freedom. They'll be in their dumbs by the end of this. And the Crew 9 crew for the first available return. I mean, listen to this wording. Update coverage of the deorbit burn and splashdown of the NASA SpaceX Dragon Freedom and the Crew 9 crew for the first available return opportunity. Haig, attitude control system functioning Gorbanoff, Williams, Wilmore, deorbit burn scheduled at 5:11 Eastern. Deorbit burn, jeez Louise. Splashdown for the first return opportunity. Scheduled, if we were to, that is a bunch of double talk. The first return opportunity scheduled at 5:57. We got some numbers going. Why is it like live still? That's my question. Why? Started 9 days ago. They got mofos. Yeah, this live now. Of course they do.
We're excited to see what you guys are going to accomplish, and we'll be waiting for you.
Didn't they out? Says March 8th, so like, says March 8th. I did watch it go up and over.
Houston Station on the Big Loop. Step 2, ISS thrusters are verified enabled. To Crew 9, safe journey home. It's been the honor of a lifetime to cross your path up here on Space Station. Your service has been very much appreciated, and we'll miss you. But
How many
have a great
times
journey
are
home.
gonna undock, oh Lord. Nunzio business. Lower view screen live. Oh, thank you, Kenneth. That helps so much.
We could spend more time with you guys, but many people who love you and who you love are waiting.
Look at this baloney. Are you kidding me? No. Everybody's really serious, remember? Oh, yeah.
For crew arrival, we ring a bell in Navy tradition, and for Crew 9, I did a baritone salute as you undocked.
You mean this part? Because, like, this is buffering, so there's that. And who's filming it? Who? Okay, we gotta know. Okay, so that bottom screen. Where did the chat go? Where they at? Is this a repeat? So, the bottom screen, if that's live, who's filming it?
Commander Nick Haig.
Oh, is that who?
As well as the Crew 10 crew, the newly arrived Crew 10 crew members.
10 crew.
Ann McLean, Takoya Onishi, and Don Pettit offering their best wishes and Godspeed for a safe return to Earth on Tuesday afternoon for the quartet aboard the Dragon Freedom.
Oh my God, how's it being filmed? Crazy what they can do. So wait. Okay, what do we got in here? Just briefly. This live now? How many times are they gonna undock? Super awesome. God bless them. I says March 8th. Up and over. I mean, I saw it go up and over. Is this the return of the first opportunity to return? Lower view screen live. Upper screen is looped. Yeah, well, I bet they're all looped. And like, the fuck? It's buffering. That is not live. There is no way. Somebody says a federal judge has ordered that the astronauts be returned to the space station. What? This is a repeat. Undocking vid is looped. from yesterday.
Dragon continues an opening rate away from the Zenith port of the Harmony
That's a
module
cute
of the
spaceship.
International Space Station.
I hope they arrive
Undocking
safe.
occurring
So
just about 5 minutes
This is
ago
me talking.
at 12:05 a.m. Central Time,
Who's,
1:05
how
a.m.
is it being
Eastern
filmed?
Time.
Crazy.
Now, coming up here in the next minute or so
ISS feed.
will be
Homie got an
the
answer for me.
spacecraft's exit from what is called the keep-out sphere. That is the first imaginary line between the space station and the departure corridor for the Dragon itself. That will be followed by Dragon maneuvering to a Sun communications pointing orientation and to enable better communications between the tracking and data relay satellite system and Dragon's communications capability itself. The approach ellipsoid exit, that basically is the end of integrated operations, where Dragon will cross that imaginary line to move beyond the neighborhood of the station, as it were, is scheduled about 14 minutes from now.
You watching this? For reals? That keep out line.
The departure one burn now complete,
Freedom,
all nominal.
Heartburn 1 nominal. Your go to DOS suits per procedure 4.012, and a final reminder that the Big Loop will be deactivated following Dragon's exit from the approach ellipsoid.
Oh my god. I want to put America. Hang on, I had something else to go with that. I had something else for that.
That's a good readback, Freedom.
With all the Freedom thrusters operating in perfect fashion, the acknowledgement by the spacecraft communicator in Hawthorne to Commander Nick Hague aboard Freedom that the crew has been given the go-ahead to get out of their entry suits for the time being, get into more comfortable clothing as Dragon continues its traverse away from the International Space Station. This will continue throughout the course of the overnight hours into tomorrow afternoon, a series of pre-programmed maneuvers that will enable Freedom to be in a position for its deorbit burn on Tuesday afternoon.
Is being outfitted with bamboo basket
that
for the
deorbit
win.
burn is scheduled to take place at 4:11 p.m. Central Time, 5:11 p.m. Eastern Time. It'll be a 7-minute, 29-second braking maneuver to enable Dragon to slip out of orbit. Its velocity slowed by 53.2 meters per second, enabling it to begin its high-speed entry back through Earth's atmosphere and a parachute-assisted splashdown off the Gulf of Mexico and the Gulf of America at 4:57 p.m. Central, 5:57 p.m. Eastern Time.
I'm not trying to say acronym.
I was actually about to give you a call saying that we'd like to deconflict the suits.
Find the perfect.
So I just said thank you, basically. EDS is real. This should be front page news, but I'm like, what's that? Elon derangement syndrome.
Freedom SpaceX on the Big Loop. Dragon is exiting the approach ellipsoid and is on a 24-hour safe free drift path. Configure comm for Dragon to ground in preparation for Big Loop deactivation.
Between Crew 9 Commander
Quick poll.
Alongside his Roscosmos cosmonaut counterpart Alexander Gorbanov and as astronauts
Truly.
Moore and Sonny Williams preparing for the Go Command for suit leak checks as they have completed their
Freedom SpaceX on the Big Loop premature call. We have exited the keep out sphere but are still in the approach ellipsoid.
On first return.
And that is where they are waiting for that Go Command for leak checks, and following
Wait,
that,
what's
about
their
44
words?
minutes from now, the prop waste burn will be executed on the Dragon spacecraft, and an hour after that waste burn, in which the craft will rid itself of unnecessary propellant and match a mass that is necessary for the deorbit burn. That'll be about an hour shortly after the prop waste burn. Targeting splashdown is exactly 2.5 hours from this moment, 2 hours.
Freedom, we have you loud and clear. Hello.
From now, targeting 4:57 p.m. Central Time, 5:57 p.m. Eastern Time.
Okay, quick
Dragon,
poll. Who
having
truly
crossed
thinks that they're coming
keep-out
back
sphere
on their
next
first
main
return
milestone
opportunity schedule? Their words. He's
to
curious.
depart the neighborhood of the station. With that, we'll
splashdown
toss
return
it
to a
for the moment
long-duration
back to
mission
Hawthorne
to the
and
International
Veronica
Space Station.
and Sandra.
You are go to begin suit leak check.
Thanks so much, Rob. As Rob just mentioned, we are now waiting for Dragon to exit the approach ellipsoid, also known as AE, which is another imaginary shape, this time a three-dimensional ellipsoid measuring 4 kilometers by 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers, in the same family as the Keep Out Sphere. It's one of several safety zones set up to govern visiting spacecraft, either arriving or departing the station. Before moving into the Keep Out Sphere or the approach ellipsoid, spacecraft have to be configured where they would not cross the imaginary boundary for a set period of time, even if the spacecraft lost all maneuvering.
Yeah, monitoring.
That's right. And that approach ellipsoid, once we get past that milestone, will be something that we call the end of integrated operations. And integrated operations means that we are talking to each other on the big loop. So we did hear those communications back and forth. The big loop is essentially not only the crew on the International Space Station, the crew in Dragon, but also both Mission Control Houston and in Hawthorne. Hence the name The Big Loop, because they're all working together to make sure that they have common communications during some of these dynamic portions of flight. So again, we are standing by for approach ellipsoid exit at 10:24 p.m. Pacific time. And on your screen there, we are getting a view of Dragon from the International Space Station, now quite a bit smaller than when we just saw a few minutes ago, undocking at 10:05 p.m. Pacific. Also in the line of sight there, we have a small view of the Canada arm, which is a robotic arm that helps do some maneuvering and is utilized a lot during spacewalks on board the International Space Station. So to recap, the hatches between the International Space Station and Dragon were closed earlier today at 8:05 p.m. Pacific, 11:05 p.m. Eastern. Since then, the crew has settled in and is working to take off their spacesuits for their 17-hour journey back to Earth. The joint NASA and SpaceX teams did a...
And so, if I'm not mistaken, there's commercial flights? Is that what I just saw go up last week?
Retraction and hooks opening, with physical separation taking place at 10:05 p.m. Pacific as the space station and Dragon were traveling 261 statute miles off the coast of Guam over the Pacific Ocean. Dragon then completed 2 of 4 departure burns and has exited the Keep Out Sphere. And we are now just minutes away from Dragon crossing the...
I'm in Florida.
Crew 9 up for their path back to Earth. Again, Dragon is targeting to splash down off the coast of Florida in the Gulf at 2:57 p.m. Pacific, 5:57 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, March 18th, marking the completion of a long-duration science and research mission.
Everyday people up, right?
Reviews right now on your screen of Mission Control here in Hawthorne, California.
I can see it come back. We'll just leave it at that. Fake it till you make it.
It looks like we're starting to get maybe some views there of Dragon as well. These views are being controlled by one of the flight controllers in Mission Control Houston called Cronus, and they help to make sure that the cameras are in position to view not only visiting vehicles that are arriving and departing, but also help to ensure that cameras are in position to get great Earth views, ensure
Where's
that
all the Earth views?
Perhaps if we're flying over a natural disaster like a hurricane or a wildfire, they are ensuring that those great cameras on board the International Space Station are being put to good use to capture all of the science and research that we can aboard the microgravity laboratory. And, fun fact, actually, the International Space Station will be celebrating 25 years of continuous human presence this November. So if you are younger than 25 years old, you have never known a day in your life where there was not a human being living and working aboard the International Space Station.
That is so cool to me. It's just this amazing step forward for human exploration in space. So
bizarre to me. Why am I so in the dark?
And with that, we're going to check back in with Rob Navius at the Johnson Space Center one more time. Go ahead, Rob.
Thank you, Sandra. You mentioned that continuous presence on board the International Space Station. We are approaching the point of the approach ellipsoid exit, which will mark the end of integrated operations with the International Space Station and the flight control team here in Houston. Just a reminder, on board, 7 crew members representing 3 nations. Alexei Ovchinin, the station commander, and his Roscosmos colleagues, Ivan Wagner and Kirill Peskov, Anne McLean, Nicole Ayers, and Don Pettit, of NASA and Takoya Onishi of the Japan Aerospace Exploration
well, ain't
Agency.
that something?
Both Chinen, Wagner,
we're all
and
working
Pettit
together in
are
the
next
space
up to
station.
depart the station.
So, you know.
On April 19th, they are scheduled to return home to the steppe of Kazakhstan and a parachute-assisted landing on April 19th U.S. time, April 20th in Kazakhstan. Before that happens, another NASA astronaut, Johnny Kim, along with two Roscosmos cosmonauts, will be launching from Baikonur on April 8th as that continuous presence of researchers on board the International Space Station continues unbroken. Sandra?
Yes, we see how. Okay, what is it? I'm waiting. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
And thank you so much, Rob, for that update. We really appreciate you joining us here as you spent your evening in Mission Control Houston. Again, we are continuing to get these views following Dragon's undocking from the International Space Station at 10:05 p.m. Pacific time. That sets us up for a splashdown tomorrow afternoon at 2:57 p.m. Pacific time off the coast of Florida.
Resources engineer confirming 4 good suits.
And so we did mention that the crew was busy with a lot of science and research.
Oh, a lot of science. I can't. Do ya? Oh, I lose my sound because of the phone. Now comes the hard part, re-entry. Whoo, best OG luck. That's cool. I meant of.
Nation, in which
we're of course standing by for any further communications from Crew 9 on board Dragon Freedom at this time. But it's a great opportunity for us to comment on some of the amazing science that Crew 9 conducted while they were on board the station. In total, Crew 9 completed more than 150 experiments, conducting over 900 hours of research. Following their splashdown tomorrow, some of those time-sensitive experiments will be among the first offloaded off the capsule and then returned to various research facilities across the country so that the science can continue.
So the science can continue. I can do
and in addition to that science, they also completed a few spacewalks, one of which was to actually swab the outside of the International Space Station for microorganisms to see if anything might potentially be able to survive the harsh environment of space, which is pretty interesting. Another one was a spacewalk to remove a radio frequency group, or the RFG. NASA astronaut Sunny Williams was able to successfully remove that, which was a big milestone for NASA. And as you mentioned, over 530 hours specifically dedicated to NASA science between NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunny Williams. So that just goes to show the great use that the microgravity lab has for science and research on the ground.
A series of departure burns and phasing burns.
I still can't get over that fact that you shared that it has been almost 25 years of continuous operation on board the ISS. That's amazing.
Yes, over 270 people.
On 2 for PMA3 closeout photos.
Next burn sequence for the Dragon spacecraft.
Go ahead, Ann.
Waste burn. And that is going to allow the spacecraft to
I just downloaded the card with all of the PMA3 and IDA and Dragon Hatch photos, as well as Crew 9 departure. Those are on SSC-17.
Further deorbit activities, and that would lead right into the deorbit.
Copy, 1-7.
An hour and 34 minutes from now. Splashdown, again, targeted off the coast.
And just one more fact, also on 17, I did a whole series of kind of inspection documentation photos before departure, and then a series after departure per the instructions. So 2 different folders with before and after photos.
Central Time, and that's
we copy.
Yeah, if it's potentially our
NASA
no doubt.
colleagues and SpaceX partners over in Hawthorne.
And that was the voice of NASA astronaut Ann McClain, who is still on board the International Space Station, stepping through procedures with the ground to wrap up after undocking, taking some photography of the hatch that the team on the ground will inspect, make sure everything checks out just fine. So we are awaiting the confirmation that Crew Dragon Freedom has exited the approach ellipsoid. We're expecting that here in just a couple of seconds here, really. So we might hear that call out here shortly.
And again, if you're just joining us, the approach ellipsoid is a 3-dimensional ellipsoid measuring 4 kilometers by 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers in the same family as the keep-out sphere. One of the key differences with the AE is that vehicles outside of it have to be on what we call a 24-hour safe free drift trajectory, which means that the spacecraft would not cross into the approach ellipsoid for at least 24 hours again, even if it lost all maneuvering.
This thing was losing its jars on it real.
That's exactly right. So we'll continue to stand by for that. Now, you may be wondering, what will the crew be doing during their 17-hour phasing? You did hear the call out earlier that they had to go to doff or take off their spacesuits. So they'll get settled in, have the opportunity to have a meal, and try and get some sleep before their targeted splashdown off the coast of Florida tomorrow afternoon at 2:57 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow afternoon. So we are looking forward to seeing them splash down off the coast of Florida tomorrow. So continuing to stand by for that approach ellipsoid exit. Should be hearing the call out any moment now. And that will really end the portion of integrated operations between the space station, Dragon, Hawthorne, Mission Control, and Mission Control Houston as well.
Freedom, SpaceX on the Big Loop. Dragon has now exited the approach ellipsoid and is on a 24-hour safe free drift path. Please make sure that comm is configured for Dragon to ground.
Down clock and Earth clock are out. Oh, John Green. I have 6 clocks going. I'm so confused. Google clock and times add.
And SpaceX Freedom on Dragon to ground. Understand we're altitude approach. Ellipsoid, 24-hour freedom.
That too, be new. Splashdown. It makes me feel like I'm at Splash Mountain.
Good confirmations there, both from Mission Control and Dragon.
And again, we did hear confirmation that Dragon Freedom has now exited the approach ellipsoid, or AE, which is that imaginary shape that's three-dimensional ellipsoid measuring 4 kilometers by 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers in the same family as the keep out sphere. So one of the key differences with the AE is that vehicles outside of it have to be on what we call that 24-hour safe free drift trajectory. This means that the spacecraft would not cross into the approach ellipsoid for at least 24 hours, again, even if it lost all maneuvering.
Always land capsule by the equator. Hot. Been there. Same mission.
With that, Crew 9 has officially departed the International Space Station. As Sandra mentioned, it will take them about 17 hours until they make their way back to Earth. So the crew is currently settling, as Sandra mentioned, for a little bit of dinner, maybe get their suits off before they take some time to rest before returning to Earth.
Wait, where did that come
Dragon
from?
is, of course, targeted to splash down off the coast of Florida tomorrow at 5:57 p.m. Eastern, 2:57 p.m. Pacific on March 18th. Followed by the crew getting picked up at sea by a SpaceX recovery vessel. As they rest up, our teams here will continue to keep an eye on the weather to ensure a safe return for Dragon and our Crew 9 astronauts.
What are they going to do? Parachute
down? And though our coverage here in Hawthorne today is wrapping up for now, we will turn it over to the NASA team in Houston to take us through the next phases of the Crew 9 mission. Our friends at the Johnson Space Center will provide continuous live audio-only coverage along Crew 9's journey home until we rejoin tomorrow. You can find the audio-only link by visiting nasa.gov/live and clicking the mission audio link, or by searching for NASA Mission Audio Live Feed on YouTube at go.nasa.gov/live-ISS.
Never restraining.
Meanwhile, we'll rejoin you for live visual coverage starting roughly 1 hour prior to splashdown at 1:45 p.m. Pacific. As always, you can find mission updates on X at NASA, at SpaceX, and on the web at nasa.gov. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you and our Crew 9 astronauts soon.
This makes me feel some type of way.
To execute a phasing burn to lower its orbit and line the spacecraft up with its landing location. Following phasing, Dragon will complete deorbit, re-entry, and splashdown.
What year did Canada go metric? Fine.
Of the nose cone, a deorbit burn. Deployment of the drogue and main
of Cheenan of Roscosmos. Last week, NASA astronaut Sunny Williams handed over command of the space station to him ahead of her upcoming departure today. Also on board space station is NASA astronaut Don Pettit, as well as cosmonauts Alexei Yevchenin, Yvonne Wagner, and of course, the recently arrived Crew 10 astronauts. Now, just like its approach to the International Space Station, Dragon's departure and deorbit is designed to be fully autonomous, requiring no action from the crew on board. board. NASA astronaut Ann McClain helped the crew.
Freedom SpaceX on the Big Loop.
Like that, like it's not hard enough to understand what the fuck they're talking about. Let's be real.
Houston and Hawthorne teams have pulled go
so is
for
this like a legit agent here that's splashed down makes me feel like I'm at Space Mountain?
I'm looking for you to confirm visors down and crew are ready for undocking departure at the planned time.
Lucy, I have on and Nandroid, hence the Nan. You said, okay, catching up. Trying to catch up with you. You said Nandroid to be...
We did just hear confirmation that the team in Mission Control and the team in Hawthorne did pull go for undocking. We might hear some continued communications.
Visors are down and we are go for undock.
You said...
SpaceX copies, crew are configured for undock.
Oh. Nan.
And so that was the voice of NASA astronaut Nick Hague, who is the commander of Dragon, giving the confirmation that they heard the go. So good news, we are continuing to progress down the timeline today for an undocking at 10:05 p.m. Pacific time here in Hawthorne.
I'm way lost at the 350, unless that was an error on one of your nanobots.
As we step through undocking. And speaking of Mission Control Houston, let's go over to the voice of NASA, Rob Navius at the Johnson Space Center in Houston to talk a bit about how the station crew have been preparing to send the crew home and what we can expect from here until Dragon departs station. Rob?
They're almost home.
Well, thank you, Sandra.
How long had they been up there?
About 2 hours ago, the 4 departing Crew 9 crew members did gather in the Harmony module right at the passageway through International Docking Adapter
No, it's not
number 2,
rescued ahead of schedule. If it says
Harmony
it's their
with
first
the Dragon
return
Freedom.
opportunity.
They had a final opportunity to say goodbye to one another, a final opportunity for the remaining crew members on the station, members of the Expedition 72 crew, to take photographs, as you see there.
Photographs. Yeah, that's what's going on. After you've been up, you want to hug people up close and personal. I do not buy that part.
Back into freedom.
What did this motherfucker say? Jesus was the best one. Sorry, it wasn't referring to everyone. So I'm going to forget. Ain't any good. Go to NASA SpaceX launch pad.
Williams and Wilmore, whose mission, of course, was extended, they launched back on June 5th aboard the Boeing Starliner spacecraft.
The end.
August, NASA decided to bring them home on the Dragon Freedom spacecraft with Crew 9. They will come home with a splashdown on Tuesday afternoon with 286 days in space, a mission encompassing 4,576 orbits of the Earth and 121.3 million miles.
Jesus was the best politician. I'm lost now. I mean, they talk about...
That distinction belongs to
oh boy, let's catch up real quick. I have owned 6 Nandroid tablets. Now I run a Samsung A9 Plus tablet. Okay, 6. He corrected it. 6 in Android? What the fuck is that? More confusion?
289 days in space. So although Williams and Wilmore have in fact had an extended mission, it's not a record-breaking mission. As we stand by for the final procedures to be encompassed here in Mission Control, you're looking at Flight Director Marcos Flores, who is the lead Crew 9 flight director here. To his right is spacecraft communicator Tess Caswell, who will be talking directly to the crew during the undocking phase and during the time the Dragon moves toward the approach ellipsoid, that mythical line in the sand where we complete integrated operations and turn over everything to the folks in Hawthorne to bring Crew 9 home for its splashdown in the Gulf of America on Tuesday afternoon. With that, we'll turn it back to you guys in Hawthorne and stand by for undocking.
Thanks so much, Rob. Thanks so much, Rob. So as you mentioned, we are standing by for separation, which is set to take place here in a little bit more than 10 minutes. We are tracking a 10:05 p.m. Pacific time, 1:05 a.m. Eastern time departure from the space station.
And as we mentioned earlier, just like during its approach to the International Space Station, Dragon's departure and deorbit is designed to be fully autonomous, requiring no action from the crew on board.
None.
Departure is typically faster and a little bit easier since the crew won't have to stop at any waypoints like we see when a spacecraft arrives to the space station.
Once the undocking sequence is complete, Dragon will use its Draco thrusters to move away from the station in a series of 4 departure burns, which are carefully strategized maneuvers that increase the distance between the spacecraft and the space station. From there, a phasing burn will place Dragon on a trajectory to align it with the splashdown site.
At the moment, the crew is suited up as they are during what we call dynamic phases of flight. And we did hear a call out a short time ago for the crew to go ahead and put their visors down ahead of the actual undocking itself. Before they depart the International Space Station, let's take a quick moment to get to know the crew we're bringing home tomorrow for the splashdown rather. U.S. Space Force Colonel Nick Hague is your Crew 9 commander. He was selected by NASA as an astronaut in 2013, and this was his second space flight to the International Space Station and third launch overall. He spent 171 days in space with Crew 9 and has a career total of 374 days in space. During his mission, he completed a spacewalk with astronaut Sonny Williams. That was his 4th spacewalk, earning him a career total of 25 hours, 56 minutes of spacewalking time. Before Crew 9, Hague previously served as a crew member of Expedition 59 and 60 back in 2019. He flew with Alexei Ovchinin and NASA's Christina Cook. This is actually his second time sharing the space station with Ovchinin. The Kansas native is a test pilot and distinguished graduate of the United States Air Force Academy. Nick spent 5 months in Iraq in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, and he voluntarily transferred from the United States Air Force to the U.S. Space Force in 2021. And he is an active colonel. His wife, Katie, is a retired U.S. Air Force
so days ago. I said, thanks, William. Listen.
NASA astronaut Sonny Williams is a mission specialist for Crew 9. This was her 3rd visit to the space station. She originally launched aboard Boeing's Starliner spacecraft and arrived at the space station on June 6th. Following the agency's decision to return Starliner uncrewed, she became an Expedition 7172 crew member. She logged 286 days in space on this mission. Sonny has a total of 608 days in space.
Oh my god.
Never pay for your internet again. Discover the Ultralink free Wi-Fi router built with the same technology.
What the fuckity fuck shells? Looking it up. Oh. Star. He said only the countdown is real, I guess. Good for Sonny, that's cool. It burns up in the atmosphere. Taco Bell, mostly. Well, it can't be both. Which one? Which one, though? Which one, though? Can't be both. Burnt up. And Taco Bell. Smirk. Which one? That can't be both. Well, this guy, Alexander, I don't even know. He looked like the other guy. Alright. Like, can we be done with this? Which countdown is the real one? This one. Oh god. It's like, I mean, it is fun and it's also not, but like, somebody needs to check in and see what that fudge is going on in the world. Thought we had a 3, 2, 1 over here. No. Ooh. Ding. Ding. Number 1 goal. It was a 3, 2, 1. I swear. Hold on. Countdown. Emoji. Mandela effect. In action. Oh god. Rest is all just repeating. I got there. Was it 3, 2, 1? 27K is like more than north. Thank you, Elon, for sharing. Scrubbers exist. Pantaloon. What works? What works? I Here it's around 2 a.m. I'm watching live your time. It's Star. You kind of quantum hovering, I guess. Unless you in the ethereal realms. Unless you meant in the astral plane or ethereal. What's crazy is that, oh God, I don't know what to do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Oh, man. Okay, but then we'll be cold again in a minute. Yeah, I'm glad all other countries haven't just so conveniently rooting for
where
us,
it has
too.
been mated and docked to the International Space Station since last November.
Here it's around 2 a.m. and watching your
3.5 minutes away from physical separation.
I'm just curious how much what do we have going on? Everybody's praying now. Pray to the pray. This is bad.
Once the physical separation occurs between Dragon and the docking port on Harmony, it will begin to move above the station at a very slow rate of about 1/10 of a meter per second. Then we'll move behind the station. A series of departure burns will then put it on a trajectory to carry it below the station and on its way to a safe distance away from the International Space Station for its deorbit burn that will occur at 4:11 p.m. Central Time, 5:11 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday afternoon to begin the final leg of the ride home for Williams, Wilmore, Hague, and Gorbachev.
Sounds a lot like William Gorbachev. Jesus, or whatever his first name is. Okay, we need to get to feeling better. We need to get to moving.
2.5 minutes to go until physical separation. All systems reported to be in great shape.
Ground control, it's a major Tom, your head is, there's something wrong, can you hear me, Major Tom? Like, it wasn't hard enough to understand, like, this type of terminology.
First gang of hooks has opened, standing by for the second. Springs on both sides of the docking interface will push off against one another to initiate that opening rate
we got
for Dragon.
Draco. I'm going to say Dragon. Draco. Don't know. White House government just joined Truth Social.
90 seconds till physical separation.
Isn't that
heading into the home stretch?
POTUS's fucking
Williams and Wilmore, the beginning of the end for a 9.5-month mission in space.
Isn't that POTUS's like Twitter?
The interface between Dragon and the International Docking Adapter no longer sealed.
Makes sense. They would. Is point. Oh my God.
International Space Station and Dragon flying from southwest to northeast across the Pacific Ocean at an altitude of 261 statute miles.
How the hell would we even know that? This all happened yesterday. Yeah. Yeah, because in the 19th. No. Oh my God. Oh my God, it's about to be POTUS G. Okay, we're done here. No more time for y'all. No time left for you.